How are all of you lovely people doing today? My name is John, and welcome to another beautiful episode of the Zombie Storyline Q&A. This is where I take your questions about the zombie storyline and answer them. Whether it's a big, a small, or a simple question, I'm always more than happy to take it on. So you can either leave your questions down below, or you can tweet me at JohnnyJ25. I'd like to apologize. I have been pretty infrequent with my uploads as of lately, and it's just because I've been incredibly busy as of lately. I have a lot of midterms to prepare for, and unfortunately these times are just very hectic for me, but I'm going to try my best to get some videos out for you guys as soon as possible, including this one. So stay tuned and bear with me. Without further ado, let's begin. We're going to kick off today's episode with a question from Little Steins, who asks, what is the beacon in the Giant? When you're playing the Giant, one of the first things Dr. Max's requests of you is to light the beacon, and this is the main Easter egg. It's basically the fly trap, however, it's almost like a remake of the fly trap Easter egg, if you could imagine. Dr. Maxis even says, "Let's play a game." Those were her exact words as he quotes his own daughter, but from the what we presume to be the original universe. Now, this is basically a way for Dr. Maxis to figure out where our characters are in the universe. We learn this when we complete the Easter egg, so we of course activate the fly trap, we then shoot all the different objects that are hidden around the map, and Dr. Maxis says this.
I see it. The beacon is lit. I know where and when you are. Sooner or later, I will find you. Together, we will ensure a better future for the children.
For some strange reason, completing the Flytrap Easter egg again acts as an interdimensional beacon, although we can't explain why. We don't really know how that even works. It doesn't quite make much sense, to be totally honest with you. That's besides the point though. This is what allows Dr. Maxis to figure out where and when in the world are we. Remember that our characters, and specifically Dr. Richtofen, is jumping through many different dimensions. Each dimension is sort of independent of the other dimensions, and there are thousands of them. If anybody's familiar with the multiverse theory, you'll understand that there are an infinite number of universes. So, if you can imagine Dr. Maxis sifting through thousands and millions of different universes, it could take a while to figure out where our characters actually are, especially since every universe has its own set of Tank, Takio, Nikolai, and Richtofen. By lighting the beacon, Dr. Maxis is able to find out where our characters are and then extract them from the Giant, and we presume then take them to the Eisendrache. So that's what's going on with beacons in the Giant. It's basically an interdimensional flag or marker that Dr. Maxis can use to locate our characters throughout the many different dimensions. This isn't to be confused with, say, a beacon like in Minecraft, where it's a big light that shines up into the sky that can be seen from way far away. I mean, you can shine a light up in the Giant as far as you want. You're not really leaving the dimension. Beacons in zombies are something a lot more subtle. It's probably something very specific to the location. For example, the Flytrap Easter egg was something very specific to the Giant, and by activating it, it probably alters the universe greatly, and Dr. Maxis is then able to locate this universe by seeing which one is slightly altered or which one is different. So I think the beacons are going to be very region specific, and if we were to see beacons in upcoming zombie maps, which I believe we will, they might be staples of a map. Like every map sort of has a beacon that we need to light, and that's essential for Dr. Maxis to allow us to move on into the next map. And in addition to lighting the beacon, there'll probably be some kind of Easter egg, and the beacon may be specific to their location, like I said. So the beacon could be like in the Giant, the Flytrap Easter egg. Maybe if there was to be a Moon remake, the beacon would be completing the first part of the Easter egg, and maybe if there was a beacon in Der Eisendrache, it would be something very specific and very important to the location, possibly involving the Frozen Man. Who knows, just a little bit of speculation there, completely out of thin air. That though is basically beacons in a nutshell. Pay attention to them. I believe they're going to become important. Moving on, I want to present a comment from Jaden Costa, and he says, buried isn't in the Old West, although it looks like it. If you look at the Earth on Black Ops 2, it's in Africa. So I'm not going to deny you that. Buried is set in Africa, although it's not really an African town. I mean, that's just kind of silly, especially when you look at the town. Let's first start off by looking at the maps that we've seen in Black Ops 2. The selection screen presents a picture of the Earth, and you can clearly see buried located in Africa. But let's also look at a picture of the Earth seen in the Die Rise intro cinematic. Where buried is normally located is ruined by a giant crack that runs right through it, and this picture of the Earth is far more destroyed than the one that we've seen in the loading screen, so this tells us that one of these images isn't accurate. Now, it doesn't matter which image it is accurate, but the point that Treyarch doesn't really have consistency with where things are located on the Earth is the important part, and I think that's because the exact location is not important. The idea they're trying to get across is that things don't really belong where they should be. You have an American Old West town. Look at the architecture. It is impossible to deny that this is something based or inspired by the Old West. You don't see buildings, you don't see towns like this in sub-Saharan Africa. It just doesn't work like that. You can look through Africa all you want, especially underground. You're not gonna find a town that looks like this. This town is an American town that somehow found its way in Africa and is underground. I don't have an exact explanation as to why. My guesses are that it's either just like universal convergences and we have element 115 displacing things, or maybe when the rockets went off and actually landed on the Earth, it shifted plates and actually moved things into the same location, somehow moving an Old West town into the Horn of Africa. It doesn't really make much sense, but it happened. It had to have happened. Otherwise, there's no explanation as to why an American town would be underground in Africa. Sure, when we look at the maps, we can clearly see it's located in Africa, but that's not the point they're trying to get across. This is an American town. This is an Old West style town. The location we play in Buried is not its original location. We're gonna end today's episode with a question from Jason Powell, and he asks, isn't Shangri-La in Brazil? I guess this is Geography Day of the Zombie Storyline Q&A, because I have a lot of geography questions that I need to clear up. So I started to get this question a lot when I made a video discussing the possibilities of a map being in Brazil. Dempsey had said in a quote that he has been to Brazil, and this made a lot of us scratch our heads and go, wait a minute, when was he ever in Brazil? People were then like, oh, but John, Shangri-La was in Brazil because Brazil has rainforests and Shangri-La was a tropical map, and I'm like, no, please stop. And this has been an idea that has spread around for months now. I mean, nobody made the argument that Brazil was in Shangri-La up until Black Ops 3, and we received that quote. The entire time, we have known that Shangri-La was actually in the Himalayas. Shangri-La is not a place that was made up for zombies. Shangri-La is a place that has existed in mythology for hundreds of years by now. I mean, it has always in mythology existed in the Himalayas. It was a lost city, a gateway to Argatha, and this gateway was somewhere lost in the Himalayan mountains. And this is where people would go and search for Shangri-La. This is nothing new. This has been around for ages. So the idea that Shangri-La is in Brazil is kind of silly. Sure, Treyarch could take creative liberties if they wanted and set Shangri-La in Brazil, but what does that really do or add to the zombie storyline? It doesn't really add anything, and Treyarch loves to draw from mythology, and it would seem pretty weird to take a big left turn and suddenly completely change the location of the map. So this idea that Shangri-La is in Brazil, while not impossible, seems illogical. That's going to wrap up this episode of the Zombie Storyline Q&A. If you enjoyed the video, maybe give it a like and possibly subscribe for more episodes. I upload multiple every week, and if you enjoyed this one, I'm sure you'll enjoy the next one. I hope you all have a wonderful day, and bye.